Hello, this is D and I'm back with another video. Well, today I have some very exciting news to share with you guys. Now, apparently there are some PlayStation 5 documents leaking on the internet right now, and it does look pretty incredible. I have to say, if this turns out to be even remotely true, the PlayStation 5 will definitely be a beast. Now, of course, we're gonna have to take this with a big grain of salt. I learned my lesson with the Xbox predictions, and we have to take this as simply a rumor. I will say though that the documents do look credible, but once again, we will have to take this with a grain of salt. As you can see on the screen right now, we have the PlayStation 5 public unveiling and release plans. Now, in this first slide that we're going to look at today, it says the public unveiling of the PlayStation 5 hardware roadmap tentatively scheduled for February 21st, 2019, which is subject to change. Final hardware reveal date not yet decided, several dates from August to September, possibly Gamescom or TGS. Hardware release date for the first region, Japan and North America, is planned for November 16th, and the second-tier regions such as Europe are planned to release November 23rd. Worldwide, no later than December 7th, the PlayStation 5 25-year anniversary limited edition to be released on December 3rd. Pre-orders from November 16th, and note that all release dates are subject to change with regard to component availability. Of course, this looks really credible. Once again, we have to take this with a grain of salt. Now, for the longest time, I've speculated that the PlayStation 5 would come out in 2019. Sony already has started talking about the PlayStation 5, and I found it strange if they were talking about it already that the system would launch in 2020. Now, I'm in the minority thinking that it will come out in 2019. Now, with this document popping up, it does make it a little bit more believable that the PlayStation 5 will launch in 2019. Now, this is the part that really has me excited about the PlayStation 5. General specifications and selling points. Custom 7nm 6-core 12-thread AMD APU based on the Zen 2 and Navi architecture with custom ray tracing extensions, Radeon Rays, and dedicated hardware for a variety of post-processing for buffers, DLSS, TAA, and MSAA up to 8K resolution. 11.2 teraflops, 22.4 teraflops of half precision, 3,640 stream processors, 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM with an initial 14 gigabyte available to developers, vapor chamber cooling system. Now, these specs are awesome if true. A custom 7nm 6-core 12-thread AMD APU would be capable of driving 60 frames per second pretty much across the board. The only thing that could stop it from getting 4K 60 is the GPU. Now, we don't know too much about the Navi architecture. However, watching yesterday's AMD presentation with their 7nm node, I do think they will get excellent performance out of the Navi architecture. Now, further down the list, we see it's going to have an Ultra HD Blu-ray player compliant with BDA 3.2 specs, including HDR10+. A 2TB hard drive in the standard SKU, and a 1TB model coming in the first quarter of 2020. VR capability built in with dedicated hardware for temporal projection, aliasing, and second screen frame buffers that can bypass original PSVR breakout boxes if used. Forward-facing HDMI 2.1 ports for PSVR 2, as well as the current VR headsets. They go on to say that it will have 3 front-facing and 3 rear-facing USB 3.1 ports with power delivery, AC power input, HDMI 2.1 output, 1 GB per second Ethernet, auxiliary and optical connection on the rear panel, built-in 802.11 wireless network, and a vertical stand which will be sold separately. Single DualShock 5 controller included in the standard SKU. Console is fully compatible with the existing DualShock 4 controllers. PSVR 2 headsets with inside-out tracking and HDR OLED to be sold separately or in a bundled SKU at launch. PlayStation VR wireless peripheral available at a later date, tentatively the third quarter of 2020. Fully compatible with all PS4 disc titles and digital content, and developers having the option of using the on-the-fly asset replacement to bring higher quality assets into older titles. Now, this is where this document actually starts to make sense to me. Recently, we've seen some of these patents that came directly from Sony about the higher quality assets that they can add in on the fly. So this actually gives some credibility to this document, but once again, I have to say we're still going to have to take this with a grain of salt. These specs, they look awesome. 11.2 teraflops, 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, vapor chamber cooling is a great upgrade to the current PlayStation hardware. The VR capability, I have to say, I'm a big fan of VR, and the fact that they will have a wireless peripheral for the VR headset does look awesome. They are using inside-out tracking, and we recently also saw another patent where they had these bracelets that you put on that have the cameras that track your fingers. So I gotta say, I'm really excited to see what Sony has planned for VR on the next generation systems. Now, staying on the VR topic, we see some documents for PlayStation's VR wireless. It goes on to say it is our goal that the third quarter of 2020, the PlayStation VR wireless peripheral for the second generation PlayStation VR headset will be available for sale to consumers. Development in the wireless technology is in the 60 gigahertz band and will allow sufficient bandwidth to wireless transfer a dual 2560 by 1440 stream to the headset in 120 Hz or up to 240 Hz at 1920 by 1080 resolution. Connecting the VR headset to the wireless receiver unit powered by the rechargeable battery, the PSVR 2 will more or less be free of cables. The new PlayStation VR controllers and the inside-out cameras in the headset can work together to deliver a better fidelity, as well as the possibility and room-scale VR experiences, although the range will be limited. A bundle with a second-gen PlayStation VR headset, the PlayStation VR Wireless TX and TX units, and the new PlayStation VR controllers will be available, as well as the PlayStation VR Wireless Kit being sold separately to the existing users of the PSVR 2 headset. Now, I have to say this is too good to be true, and once again, we're gonna have to take this with a grain of salt, although it does seem credible. Now, the PlayStation VR wireless peripheral uses the latest development in wireless tech for a high bandwidth streaming of audio and video streams to the VR headset using a 60 gigahertz band, also known as Y-Gig, although this branding may be changed. This tech has a limited range of 6 to 8 meters at the bandwidth required, but it works well for applications such as small room scale VR. The peripheral will likely use a USB connector to power the transmitter unit, but if the power output can be kept low enough, it could possibly be powered over HDMI, and the receiver unit will use the rechargeable batteries to power the headset and the receiver unit. This should be sufficient to power the headset up to 6 hours continuously, well beyond what is recommended to continuously use the VR headsets. The headset HDMI cable may also be used as a pass-through using the receiver unit, but this feature may be removed before the final approval. These design renders are currently a work in progress, but conveys the general idea of separate wireless peripherals that the end user can upgrade their existing PSVR 2 headset with at a later date. The last slide that we're going to look at today is the PlayStation 25 years and beyond slide, and I guess this is going to detail their 25-year special edition PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 4 Pro, a new Slim, will be made available in the first quarter of 2020 to complement the launch of the PlayStation 5, while the PlayStation 4 Slim will be discontinued. PlayStation 5 new hardware release in the fourth quarter of 2019, timed to coincide with the 25-year anniversary of the release of the original PlayStation hardware and the holiday season. Initial shipments may be sparse until supply chain catches up, staggering releases in the weeks following in Japan, US, and Europe. The PlayStation 5 hardware launches in both console-only SKU and a console plus PSVR 2 bundle SKU, all with a 2 terabyte hard drive. The limited edition SKU launches a week later, and an additional 1 terabyte SKU available in the second quarter of 2020. Hardware is compatible with the existing PlayStation VR headset, but will require the same breakout box used for the PlayStation 4 system to operate. The dedicated front HDMI port will be used for all VR on the new hardware. Horizontal and vertical field of view as well as spatial tracking will be limited compared to the new headsets. Please see the attached notes. Developer kits will be made available across the board after hardware unveiling in the spring. Select developers already have possession of early dev kits, and ICE team support is available. At the bottom here, we see that the PlayStation VR will launch alongside the hardware, and that OLED screens will have a 1920 by 1080 RGB with increased horizontal, and vertical field of view. The new headset is not compatible with the old PlayStation 4. The active adapter is possible, but not really viable. Look for more in-depth developer information on the PlayStation VR 2 headset in the spring ahead of the unveiling of the PlayStation 5. The new VR controllers are amazing. The PlayStation VR Wireless will be sold separately, with a wireless streaming of VR content to the PSVR 2 headset will be available in the fourth quarter of 2020, with final designs and specs subject to change and subject to design alterations during the first year of 2020. The PlayStation VR 2 Pro proposed release date is 2021, with enhanced resolution and built-in wireless capabilities in the headset. Going forward, backwards compatibility is important to maintain the PlayStation brand and the ecosystem of hardware, software, and services. Be sure to follow the developer's technical notes to ensure a smoother transition for future hardware and service solutions. Now, I have to say, if this is really a fake document, this person really went out of their way. Everything seems very credible. The way that everything is worded is the way that these companies do hand out their internal documents. Some of these designs, I just don't see someone having that much dedication to be faking these documents. But as we know in the past, when these insiders leak these documents, we have to take it with a grain of salt. Everything looks fantastic, from the wireless VR headset to the PlayStation 5 having an AMD APU with the Ryzen 2 processor in it and a 6-core 12-thread CPU that would finally give us 60 frames per second on the console. The Navi architecture does look awesome, being on 7nm, and I expect that GPU to do great things. Will we finally get 4K 60 as a standard on the console? Time will only tell, but if this leak is accurate, I do think we'll be getting 4K 60 frames per second on most games for the next generation. Now, of course, the GPU could be a limiting factor on some of the newer games, so you might see maybe 45 frames per second, but with FreeSync enabled, you'll still get a smooth experience. Nonetheless, I really think that next generation will be targeting 4K 60 frames per second, and I still stand by my claim that the PlayStation 5 will come out in 2019. Anyways, I really want to know what you guys think about these leaked documents, so please leave your comments down below, and like I usually say, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.